messages all the time in the comments section that some of you didn't realize you didn't subscribe. So if you could do me a favor and double check if you're a subscriber to this channel, that would be tremendously appreciated. It's the free thing that anybody that watches this show frequently can do to help us here, to keep everything going in this show in the trajectory it's on. So please do double check if you subscribed. And thank you so much, because in a strange way, you're part of our history and you're on this journey with us. And I appreciate you for that. So yeah, thank you. Morgan, everybody loves to talk about investing. They love to talk about saving money. But I've never heard anybody emphasize the importance of spending money. You've written this book, The Art of Spending. So it begs the question, why would someone like you, who sells tens of millions of copies of their books when they write about something and really, really cares about the art of writing, commit themselves to writing a book about the art of spending when you could have written anything that you wanted to and it would have been a success?
So I've written about money and finance and investing for 20 years, and almost never had I myself said, what is my spending philosophy? I can tell you how I invest. I can tell you how I save. I can tell you why I do those things. If 5 years ago, if you said, Morgan, tell me your philosophy about spending in your own life, I'd be like, I don't really know. And as I looked into it, there are literally tens of thousands of books on how to invest, how to grow your money, how to get rich, how to help your career. That topic is endless. There is virtually no book out there written about spending money. And I think the reason why is because I think we intuitively think nothing needs to be said, because the answer should be obvious. More is better, fancier is better. That's the end of the topic. But if you know particularly wealthier people, I mean, it affects everybody, but particularly wealthier people, you know it's not that simple. That the correlation between how much you spend and how happy you are, it can exist. Everyone can spend money in a way that's going to make them happier, but it is not as simple as you think. And as I started digging into it in my own life, of when have I been envious of other people, of their material possessions? Why was I envious? When have I been jealous? Why was I jealous? What kind of spending made me happy? What left me completely flat? It's a much more complicated topic than it seems at the surface. You know, another title for the book could have been The Psychology of Spending Money, because that's what this is. So to look at the psychology of greed and envy and social aspiration and like climbing the social ladder, who you're trying to impress, whether those people are paying any attention to you, that's what this book is.
So for someone like me who wants to improve my relationship with spending, I guess the first question is, understanding the art of spending money, simple choices for a richer, what is it going to do for me? How is it going to make my life better to understand this? Why does it matter to the person that's listening right now?
I think it is a very easy assumption to make if you're unhappy with your life, that if you had more money, those problems would go away.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be true. It's not automatically false. It's just easier to assume that that's true than it actually is. And so I guarantee you that every single person listening to this right now has some degree of that. If I had a little bit more money, my problems would go away, even if they don't necessarily know it or not. So much of spending is a psychological exercise. There's an itch that you're trying to scratch, and that manifests in so many different ways. And so I've often thought of money, look, is money the root of society, the core of society? No. There's obviously a million things more important than money. But I do think it's the clearest window that we can look through to try to figure out what's going on in our own lives, in other people's lives, in society. It shows very starkly what people value, what they're scared of, what they're aspiring to become. There are many more elements to the puzzle. Your health, your friends, your family. We can go on that forever. But money is a very clear window that if you see how somebody engages with money, you're like, oh, I understand your insecurities. I understand your aspirations. I understand your self-confidence. I understand what you think of other people. You can learn a lot about that.
It's kind of like a reflection of your trauma.
Yes. And it manifests in very different ways. There's a great financial writer named Tiffany Alichet, and she grew up very, very poor, and now she's extremely successful. And she calls it post-traumatic broke syndrome. Where even though she has a lot of money right now, I don't want to put words in her mouth. My understanding is like she's afraid to spend it because the feeling in her head is, I will never go back to that. I can't ever go back to that poor person, post-traumatic broke. And so it can manifest in very different, sometimes opposite ways. And so the point is not like if you grew up poor, you're going to want to display it. But the point is that it's a psychological itch. It's not just, I want the nice car because nice cars are better. There's a social signaling. You're signaling to others, you're signaling to yourself. It's a trophy for yourself of what you've overcome. The more I dug into it, the more it was so clear of like, spending is not just on material stuff. It's not just I want to buy this car or this house or these clothes or these jewelry because it's nice. It's I'm trying to send a signal to others or to myself of what I've overcome. One of the ways I thought about this in my own life was if I was on a deserted island with maybe just me and my family, nobody could see how we were living. Nobody can see your house. Nobody can see your car. Nobody can see your clothes. Nobody can see your jewelry. How would I live? For me, and I think most people in that exercise, you immediately gravitate away from status and towards utility. Like I would not want a Lamborghini. I'd probably want like a pickup truck. Something that has like more utility. If nobody could see it, I would just want utility. I would not want an enormous house. I would want a house with a nice view because I'm not trying to show off to other people. I just want something that is calming and serene to myself. And so once you start seeing the stark difference between utility and status, once you force yourself to see it, you're like, oh, it's everywhere.
Is something inherently wrong with status?
No,
Is it wrong to buy a Rolex?
Absolutely not, particularly at certain points of your life.
Okay, so when is it good? When is it bad? When is it indifferent? Like indifferent?
I don't know. It's hard to say what's good and bad in terms of a formula because everybody's different. But I would say this: my own personal desire